Yesterday, Justice Michael Saldanha, one of India's most distinguished judges, slapped a legal notice for libel on Bombay's Archbishop, Cardinal Gracias. Saldanha accused Gracias of defaming church militant after the Cardinal released a video claiming church militant had, quote, mischievously edited a secret phone call leaked exclusively to church militant between the Cardinal and the Bishop of Mysore, K.A. William. William is accused of murder, rape, sodomy, and embezzlement. Diocesan clergy say he also fathered 2 illegitimate children and had at least 5 mistresses. In the phone call published exclusively by church militant, Gracias urges William to take a DNA paternity test while assuring him he, Gracias, will control the outcome. Saldanha wrote, when the Cardinal goes on record to use the word mischievously edited, he is inviting a libel action for damages which could not be less than $100 million. The Indian Penal Code punishes libel with simple imprisonment for a term which may extend to 2 years or with fine or with both. Church militants Brad Eli joins us now with more. Brad, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Kim. With us again tonight with an update on this fast-moving story is the man who broke the story, Church Militant's very own Dr. Jules Gomez. Good evening, Jules.
Good evening from Rome, Brad. It's good to be here with you this evening.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Now, Jules, in his formal legal notice that we just heard about, this notice that came out yesterday, the well-renowned lawyer Michael Saldanha really gives some good advice to India's nuncio that Cardinal Gracias must immediately retract his erroneous claim that media, aka church militant, mischievously edited his phone call with Bishop Williams regarding a paternity test he wanted Bishop Williams to take at a Catholic hospital in order to control the outcome. As a recap for our viewers, here's Saldanha's warning that he gives to the nuncio yesterday. He says, when the Cardinal goes on record to use the word mischievously edited, it is inviting a libel action for damages which could not be less than $100 million because he represents the church. The church can easily afford to pay it apart from a prosecution. As a person who knows the law and the facts, I need to caution the church that this action has been invited and that it would be defenseless in any part of the world. Jules, your take on this rapidly escalating chain of events?
Well, Justice Saldanha is absolutely right, Brad. We also spoke to Mark Randazza, our very own top-class First Amendment lawyer, and he confirmed that. He also said that the Indian courts, according to the Indian Penal Code, for 499 to 500, Section 499 to 500, would take a far more severe look and would mete out a far greater penalty to people who commit libel. In fact, Cardinal Gracias could be sent to jail for 2 years if he's found guilty of defamation. It is far more serious in India because, at least in America, you have the First Amendment, and that is not applicable, obviously, in India.
Now, can you get our viewers up to speed on other clerical quagmires that Cardinal Gracias himself has wallowed in?
The story that we broke yesterday was about the Metropolitan Archbishop of Bangalore, Dr. Peter Machado, who oversees the corrupt, rogue, scandal-plagued Bishop K.A. William, who heads the Mysore Diocese. And what has happened is that we obtained an email from Archbishop Machado to Bishop William. This is dated November 2019, where Machado tells William that if the police comes to arrest him, he will provide him with sanctuary. Now, this is aiding and abetting a person who's allegedly a criminal. And the reason William was fleeing from the police is because a first information report, an FIR, was filed against him for kidnapping a lady called Saldanha, who there was later an out-of-court settlement, and the bishop paid around 120 million rupees. But this is a very serious allegation, and the reason my sources in Mumbai, in Bangalore, and in Mysore, the reason why Archbishop Machado offered to shelter him and is because they have been in cahoots together over a 500 million rupee disaster relief scam. This is when the massive floods hit the region of Coorg, which is in the Diocese of Mysore. And both Bishop William and Archbishop Machado collected massive sums of money from both Catholics and non-Catholics in Bangalore, Mysore, and never properly submitted any audits of those accounts. They said they were going to build houses. There were around 2,500 families affected, but so far, as you can see, only 10 houses have been built, and most of these houses don't have electricity. 5 of the houses, my sources on the ground tell me, have not even been inhabited. There are no roads connecting the houses. They have been poorly built. The ladder that you can see on the to reach to the terrace is dangerous, and there could be massive health and safety concerns here. But I wrote to Peter Machado a number of times. He did not respond. I wrote to Bishop William. He did not respond. And they are simply not willing to account for these 500 million rupees.
Okay, Jules, with this huge story that's got multifaceted story out there, there must be other Catholic media out there exposing the truth, getting the facts straight, and crediting Church Militant with breaking the story.
Brad, you must be kidding. 2 weeks after we broke the story, even though emails from important journalists in the Vatican had been sent to all the major secular and media covering the Vatican, not a single Catholic or secular media internationally picked up the story. However, immediately after Cardinal Gracias published his video, they rushed to the story like flies to a pot of honey. And what's even more disturbing is they distorted the story. They've reported it entirely from the Cardinal's perspective, and we are talking about a so-called credible news agencies like the Catholic News Agency, the National, the Catholic Register. Of course, we don't consider the National Catholic Reporter, or more popularly known as National Catholic Distorter, to be credible. But I'll give you just one example. UCA News. This is what they said, and this will tell you how blatantly inaccurate their reporting is. I quote, "Though the Vatican has not initiated any public action against Bishop William based on the allegations, his accusers have demanded that he undergo a paternity test to prove his innocence." Now, this is totally inaccurate, because the Vatican did initiate a probe against Bishop William, and that was completed over a year ago. The Vatican has not released the report. But for this news agency to say that is totally misleading. Also, the UCA News says that the accusers demanded a paternity test. Well, in the leaked phone call, we know that it was Cardinal Gracias who told William that Cardinal Louis Tagle, had asked him to take the DNA test to set people's minds at rest. So what we're seeing here, Brad, is that these Catholic media are actually becoming enablers of these abusers, these embezzlers, and tragically, 4 priests have been murdered in the Mysore diocese. Priests call me on the phone and they tell me they are living in fear of their lives. And these Catholic media have absolutely no concern for these good priests. I was an Old Testament scholar. My doctorate was in the area of Old Testament. And one thing that I used to talk about quite regularly, and scholars all over the world talk about this, the Old Testament prophets. You have the false prophets in the Old Testament who were basically the establishment prophets belonging to the cult, the temple, and the court. And with rare exceptions like Nathan, who confronts King David when he commits adultery and murder, they basically were spokespersons for the establishment, crying out peace, peace, when there is none. It was the prophets who had a genuine vocation, who were genuinely called by God, like the prophet Jeremiah, who disturbed people like Elijah, troublemaker of Israel, and who said there is no peace, but Israel is soon going to go into exile. But these were in a tiny minority. And Brad, I pity the Catholic media for going down the route of the false prophets.
Well, that's for sure. That's for sure, Jules. Well, thanks for the updates and those insights, Jules. The eyes of the world, especially those in Rome, are on you. Take care.
Thank you, Brad. God bless you.